Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webcast. My name is Mike Otranto, and I'm a strategic account specialist at Wickersoft. I'm also joined on today's webcast with Jim Patterson, who leads in a business development role, and Matt Wiley, a product guru and technology expert. Today, we're going to focus on how to increase IT business value with an integrated PPM and ITSM solution. After the webinar, you will receive an email with a copy of the recording and the slide deck so you can review. The line will not be open for questions, but you can type in your questions via the chat feature on the right-hand side. So if you want to know more about Wickersoft and who we are today, we're actually a Microsoft joint venture that was founded in 2002. We provide consulting, business process outsourcing, managed services, and global support for staffing. We're a triple gold certified Microsoft partner. Less than 1% of partners ever have that designation. And we are certified in project portfolio management, collaboration and content, and cloud productivity. So we have a lot of experience helping organizations maximize their efficiency and technological advantage. We have a footprint all over North America and internationally. We really focus on Microsoft technologies and integrate with a wide variety of other platforms and technologies. From a project and portfolio manager's standpoint, we have a deep expertise in project online and project server. I will now hand off the webcast to Jim Patterson.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for the introduction. Welcome, everybody. I'm glad you have some interest in our topic today, which is increased business value with an integrated IT PPM and ITSM solution. I imagine if you're here, you probably know what those acronyms mean, but we mean IT project and portfolio management and an IT service management solution. I'll be giving you some concepts here to set the stage, and then Matthew will come on and actually show this stuff to you in action live via demonstration. Mike did a nice job of giving us the introductions. Our agenda today really is to talk about the current challenges our solution is addressing, then talk about Project Connect for project online integration that makes this all possible, that's provided by Wickersoft, and then also talk about the integrated IT management use case that we'll be demonstrating to you so you understand the concepts behind it. We'll spend most of the time on the demonstration itself, and then we'll close out with summary, wrap up, and some next steps that you can take if you're interested in pursuing this any further. So let's talk about some of the current challenges in the marketplace today in this area. You know, with the rise of technology today, companies are, in essence, all becoming software companies, regardless of whether or not they were formerly founded as more brick and mortar type of companies. The digital age has taken over, and digital transformation is what's making people competitive. So the traditional department stores have been taken over by the Amazons of the world. The old Blockbuster videos where we used to wait in line, people are now accessing that content via things like Netflix. The traditional taxi cab and transportation model is taken on by Uber and Lyft. And even in the fast food stores where we get our soft drinks, that's all software driven now in many of those stores as we go through and look at the technologies for how we select what we drink at those stores. So what does this mean to us from a project and portfolio management and a systems perspective? Inevitably, there's adoption challenges into making this change, and it really affects all roles within the organization. Executives need to come up with better ways of going to market and really formulating innovative ways to get to customers and achieve new lines of business. The project management organizations need to manage a wide variety of projects that use different methodologies and even have different content, and even manage holistically a diverse set of projects that they have to report up through to leadership. And then the software development organizations, they have their own needs. They're moving into more agile approaches and using methods that maybe traditional PPM were not addressing, yet have to interact and provide information to those PMOs. And then ultimately we have to support this. So organizations on the operational side of things, we put technology out there that support and drive our business, and then we have to support that technology and do it in a way that's efficient and effective from a resource perspective internally and otherwise. All in all, the business models are changing and we need to move with it. Ultimately, what this drives is what's commonly the landscape today is disconnected systems and processes within organizations. And here's just 3 silos that we commonly run into when it comes to just overall work management within an organization. We have in the center, we have the traditional project management, which includes more waterfall types of approaches where people manage tasks and work breakdown structures and track things like issues, changes, and action items. And they can typically do things and do these things in tools like Microsoft Project, or even in the simple case with simple SharePoint lists, etc. On the right-hand side, we got application management, application development. And here people are actually setting up separate tools for these types of things. They're either using their integrated development environments or using specific tools that support more agile approaches and are designed for that. They're using things like Visual Studio from Microsoft or Jira from Atlassian or version 1 or some of the more common ones. All in all, work is being done in this front, but it's typically segregated and siloed information and systems from what's being done maybe with the PMO in the traditional project management realm. And then we have the service management piece that we're going to address today. This is where we have that support mechanism, and we have the more operational side of things, and where things like service requests and incidents and problems and changes come in. And we have to triage those things and either execute on them or maybe escalate them up to different types of work or projects. And this is done in yet another set of tools, maybe ServiceNow, maybe Microsoft Dynamics, maybe Service Cloud, other things out there like Zendesk and Remedy. The idea here is that these are just 3 examples of silos, not including independent spreadsheets and other individual innovation that happens within organizations. So we're managing things in segregated pieces of information. There's parallel processes. There's multiple entry points where work is associated, so that workers that get assigned work sometimes have to monitor a half a dozen or more different places to see all the things that are on their plate. And then when you have departmental silos, how do we even understand what the overall priorities are across the organization? So these are just some of the things that we face with this siloed, disconnected world. So the technology-driven challenge is, how do you find your way through this maze of processes, applications, and siloed information to manage all your work? You know, we end up with a bunch of these symptoms, you know, with not very good transparency. Maybe our customer service is not what it could be. Maybe we don't get the right strategic alignment to work on the right things. Maybe we don't understand the true availability or capacity versus demand of our resources. There's manual processes. There's duplication of entry across multiple systems. So these are all things that really face us as we go through this maze internally within the organization. And ultimately, these silos create barriers, and this wall is really a metaphor for those types of barriers that we create with ourselves internally and barriers between us and our customers. And ultimately, if we don't resolve this, there's some level of impact to that. Some organizations worse than others that result in things like low response times, confused and unhappy employees, lost productivity, low engagement, maybe frustration and high turnover, maybe just ineffective ways of working that kind of bleed through and are apparent to our customers themselves. All in all, these things are all possible if these things are disconnected and maybe less efficient or effective than possible. So let's talk about this from the IT management perspective and the integrated IT management use case that we describe in the title. Ultimately, something's got to tie all this together if we're going to bridge the gaps here and make some impact. And Microsoft's Project Connect really is a technology and a platform in the Microsoft Cloud that allows us to manage a holistic portfolio of work using Microsoft Project Online, or in some cases, Project Server. But Project Connect is an integration platform with productized connectors that actually work with different genres of tools that may have to feed in or interact with the overall portfolio management solution or project management solution in Project Online. In this case, we're looking at the lower right where we've highlighted in the light blue circle the service management piece. And we're going to illustrate an illustration of doing this with ServiceNow today. But the idea here is that you can have a need to do different types of work, more the agile software development with Jira Visual Studio version 1. You might do more lightweight project and work management with things like Office 365 Planner or SharePoint. You may have to interact with a customer or a CRM system for professional services with Salesforce or Microsoft Dynamics CRM or Dynamics 365. And then the same thing with the ServiceNow piece or the dynamic service management piece in Dynamics 365 is there's work being generated in there, and there's people that may be primarily living in that tool or environment if they have a more operational job by its nature. The idea is, how do we bring this together seamlessly so that they are not truly disconnected silos that are only brought together with a lot of manual effort, or what I call data gymnastics. So an integrated IT management use case, here's one example or one pictorial of that. You have all kinds of demand that come into IT, and that can be in the form of things like different kinds of requests, changes, incidents, project requests, etc. And the idea those can be coming from a variety of different angles. It could be emails, it could be through different systems, it could be through, water cooler type of things. But the idea this demand comes in, and the idea in an integrated IT management use case, we can be able to use all of those demand types and come in to actually select the work, and not only select the work, but have it go down the right path so that it's accessed by the users in the right applications and going through the right flow and the right processes. So we can funnel all IT work through a common governance and control structure, yet then manage it through the appropriate place through its life cycle, and have visibility to that from a reporting perspective and a life cycle perspective all the way through that process. Then we've done our job as far as making this a more seamless process, but having the best of breed tools in use for the different types of work that may have to be executed on. In this case, we're using the example of projects going through Microsoft Project or Project Online. Application work or more agile development going through Visual Studio, VSTS, Visual Studio Team Services, for example. And services, request changes and problems being done more in an ITSM solution like ServiceNow. So in this use case, we end up making a holistic portfolio of all this information for a variety of reasons. But we end up having, if you look at the top, that black bar really represents the end-to-end capabilities of a fully functional project and portfolio management solution, which is Project Online in our use case. The idea there being is that it ends up being the place where all demand or project selection takes place. It's where resource capacity planning or any overall financial management might take place. Any time reporting would ultimately end up there. Business intelligence and all the reporting is tied to all of that as well. But if we look at the three branches below that are connected by Wickersoft's Project Connect, you have the traditional projects over, which could be using Microsoft Project, Office 365 Planner, SharePoint, whatever you might have. Then you have the middle group, which is the more agile pieces where we're doing more backlog and sprint and iteration based things, but having that information feed back to Project Online. And then the work that's going on and being requested or executed on over in ServiceNow. This could be service requests, help desk tickets, service catalog items, the old SLA management, and those types of things are going on there. The idea being is that to have a centralized portfolio and visibility into the resource load, the work, and the entire portfolio of efforts up in Project Online, but the execution of those things at various points and various aspects of this process can happen in the tools down at the leaves of this tree at the bottom of the diagram. So from an integrated ITSM and PPM use case, IT is now being asked to drive tangible customer value and to answer a lot of key questions such as, for example, how much time and budget are we spending on strategic projects versus, say, maintenance and keep the lights on type of activities? Is IT actively engaged in activities that are directly impacting the strategic objectives that we have as an organization as a whole? Or if so, what percentage of our time is being spent pursuing the things that are important to our organization? Also, how and where is IT adding value to the business? And what return can be expected on these efforts? Also, what departments or business units are consuming the most IT resources, and can we make operational improvements to get better support of those needs in those groups? So the idea, what's the resource mix? Where the demand coming? Where are we actually spending that time? And can we make business decisions and adjustments based upon the myriad of things that are going on within the organization? So one pictorial of an integrated ITSM and PPM use case, if we look at, say, ITSM being highlighted in the red, many of them, like a ServiceNow, have a self-service portal where there's a service catalog, there's requests, incidents, changes, and other aspects that come into that. Now, those requests and incidents can actually maybe even bubble up to projects that get managed in the project management solution, or they could be things that manage end to end as far as incidents or other things that get managed strictly within the ITSM solution like ServiceNow. But there is a resource component to that as far as what their demand and what they're really executing and how much time they're actually spending on those things. And are they even available for projects once they do that keep the lights on type of operational work? At the end, these things have to work together because these are all important pieces of the workload in an organization, and resources do have to have a way to execute on these things effectively. So let's talk about one common use case here. One is where the front end or the requests or changes are captured in the ITSM solution. So when we looked at that demand funnel that we had in the original diagram, one use case is that the ideas, requests, incidents, changes, problems, even project requests might come in essentially through a tool like ServiceNow in the ITSM world. So these requests are captured, they're sorted and prioritized in ServiceNow, and really giving you one portal or entry point into that request world. Then some of those things may bubble up to projects that need to be considered from a portfolio management solution. Now, those requests can then be synced over to Project Online and its robust portfolio management capability via Wickersoft's Project Connect, and create either a potential or an actual project in Project Online that can be prioritized along with other projects being considered that may have been generated in the overall project intake piece going on within the PMO or steering committee or what have you. Then ultimately, those things would get executed in the project management solution if they did bubble up to become projects, and then project updates from Project Online are then synchronized back to ServiceNow to ensure that the requests stay up to date and people understand the status of what those are. So the idea of the point of origin would be ServiceNow. Some of that work becomes projects. It gets managed as projects in a traditional project management solution, or maybe even potentially in an agile solution. But the idea is that the relevant information is getting fed back to ServiceNow in this case. And the other piece might be where all portfolio and intake work is going on within Project Online. And so you get all of the requests and projects are planned, schedules are made, resource capacities plans are made, resources are assigned to tasks, and then ultimately resources that work primarily in ServiceNow, folks whose job it is to do the more operational things, they could potentially get their work in ServiceNow, and then Project Connect could actually send project tasks and assignments from Project Online to ServiceNow so that people can update them, maybe even report time against them and have them feed back to a timesheet in the portfolio management system, which is Project Online, and have that feedback even though they never leave ServiceNow to do those types of updates. So ultimately, the updates from ServiceNow and the users who are primarily in that tool set are synced back to Project Online for consolidated information, and then ultimately portfolio level reporting. We have all kinds of reporting options, but Power BI from Microsoft is really the dominant way in where things are going from the Microsoft perspective. And there is a growing number of automated data feeds from a variety of solutions. Project Online is definitely one of them in the Microsoft world. And the idea is if we're bringing that information all together in Project Online, we have the availability of dynamically updated, robust information for reporting and dashboards within Power BI. Obviously, that's not the only reporting option we have. We can use other reporting solutions, but bringing together data from your ITSM solution and your PPM solution, especially from a resource management perspective, can be very powerful. So let's talk about the integrated ITSM and PPM benefits, and then we'll go on to show you these things in action. It allows us the potential to create a single front door for all IT requests and funnel them properly through the right path. Ensure that the help desk personnel stays focused on the small ticket items and then bubble up all large requests to be evaluated and prioritized like the rest of the portfolio governance process that you have in place within your organization. So it's consistent as far as that method. It ensures that IT stays focused on the right things and not just the next thing from a reactive perspective, because we get to do some level of prioritization in a portfolio management process. It also enables users to manage their workload in a single system. So if I live primarily in ServiceNow as an operational person, maybe the workload that's relevant to me can be presented to itself to me there, and I can update that there. We can also ensure updated and consolidated portfolio reporting because we end up with data that might be in 2 different systems or more that are getting consolidated into one place. And between having that data consolidation and being able to report it through something like Power BI, we get that to be a natural output of the process as opposed to manual effort to merge that data or mash up that data together for the type of reporting that we look. And it's a big effort in a lot of organizations today. We also eliminate the information silos and redundancy. So we eliminate the need to have to do any duplication of effort or duplicate entry of data, and ensuring that both systems are synchronized and up to date on a regularly scheduled basis. And then resources don't have to log into separate systems from the ones they normally log into to log actual hours and feed a timesheet if time is something that you want to capture in this. Also, it's just really a consolidated reporting of all project and non-project time and effort in a consolidated way, and saves a lot of time and effort and gyrations by organizations and let them focus on high value activities instead of data massaging and data consolidation. So the value of integration as a whole is we get to drive enhanced visibility and assure alignment with our business goals by going through a portfolio and governance intake process. We can integrate all work and resources into a single view. We can quickly and reliably bring together business systems. In this case, we'll show you ITSM and PPM, but from that bigger diagram of Project Connect, you show that there's other genres of software that can be brought into this mix as well. It also helps bring improved portfolio alignment to organizational goals and objectives because that strategic alignment can happen through our portfolio management process in a more inclusive fashion. And just overall holistic views of portfolios, resource availability, and efficiency across all types of work become something that's readily available in a combined system. Ultimately, that leads to better forecasting, more realistic expectations of resources, and what we can actually do given the resource constraints that we have. And just overall improved governance for planning, executing, and reporting across all these types of work. So those are some of the concepts. Hopefully it gives you an idea of the things that we're going to be demonstrating today. But with that, I'd like to turn it over to Matthew Willey, who will go through some of this in action.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Jim. All right, let's jump on in then. So here I'm looking at Project Online, and you can see I have a list of all of my different projects that are going on right now with some high-level KPIs like overall health, schedule health, issue health, etc., and even a Gantt timeline roadmap type of a thing. But as Jim mentioned, the demand and the requests that can spawn this work in these projects can come from a lot of different places. So I could come right into Project Online and put in my request directly into here, but everyone in the organization doesn't necessarily always have access to do that, and maybe we just standardized and said, you know, our service management tool is going to be where everyone puts their requests in, and that's absolutely fine. So let's take a look at that scenario here first and see how that can then flow on into Project Online, and we can do some demand management on it as well. So jumping over into ServiceNow, there are multiple different modules within ServiceNow where projects could be spawned from. One of those being the ideas module. So in here we can put in all of our different ideas. You can see we have a lot of ideas that people have submitted. Different ideas are in different stages. Some are in a draft stage. Some actually have project work in progress, meaning we're actually going and executing on a project right now for that particular idea. And others are in other various stages. And so what we can do is we can let these ideas flow into here, do some vetting on them, and if they look interesting, look like things we might be interested in, we simply select those and say create project, and that's going to push it over into Project Online as still a requested project where we might want to build out a little bit more information, do some high-level planning, portfolio analysis types of things, and then figure out if we really want to do it or not. So that's one place where some demand could come from. Another location is possibly changes. So there are a lot of different change requests that are going to come out of just managing an IT organization in general. Those change requests could be to different applications that you're managing, to different infrastructure that you're managing, you know, so on and so forth. Sometimes those changes are fairly simple changes that don't require, you know, a project schedule and really managing it like a project. It's more like we can just make this change, it's been approved, get it done, and we're good to go. But if it's a larger change and it requires multiple different people and we need to put together a budget possibly and a timeline and a schedule and so on and so forth, then we may want to take that change and simply just select it here and again, just say create project, that's going to push it over into Project Online and bring it through that funnel, so we can start to get that into mix, plan it out, manage the resources, so on and so forth. And the list goes on. I won't go through all of them, but we could do this with incidents. If it's an incident that requires a full-on project, it's not something that we can just take care of quickly, reset your password or something like that. Service requests, etc. Right? Any of the different things that we're tracking over in ServiceNow, all these different entities or requests, can eventually become a project if we choose to do so. So what happens is then that flows into here. It comes into the requested projects area. And then you can utilize tools like the portfolio analysis module to figure out, okay, what do we have budget to do that's going to give us the most value, and start to get a prioritized list and build out resource plans and so on and so forth, and start to really go and execute on those projects. As you do that, the high level information will then be sent back into these different areas here, so we can start to see things rolling back. Things like planned start dates, planned end dates will roll back from the project schedule that you put forth. So it's actually a two-way integration there that's going to send some details back. So we know when that project's been completed, we can then close this change out or that idea or whatever it might be, and really complete that loop of communication, right? So it really can help tie the two systems as well as the two groups of people together, so we can gain some efficiencies and not try to have to manually do things across these different environments and send things in email and tell people things in the hallway, and those get lost and we can't track those well and really understand where we should be focusing our efforts. So that's one use case. Another use case that we see that's quite common is really around resource management. So there's lots of work going on over here in ServiceNow. Things that your help desk are working on. We're setting up new infrastructure and supporting applications and so on and so forth. And what we can do is we can, on a nightly sync or in real time, pull in that information either at just a very high level or at a more detailed level, depending on how much detail you're looking for. And based off of that, we can start to understand not just what project work people are working on, but also what more operational type work we're working on. If we're working on things like a help desk or whatever it might be, service tickets, etc., those types of things, right? So if I then come into Project Online's the engine. It figures out for each person, here's how much capacity you have, meaning there are a certain amount of work days in the month, and it takes into account holidays and all kinds of things like that, and figures out, okay, you can do this much work in any particular week, month, etc. Then we can come in, we can look at the capacity planning view, and instead of just looking at things in a silo separately, the operational work over there in ServiceNow, the project work over here in Project Online, because we're integrating it together, we now get a full picture of who's actually working on what. So I can see here, for example, Lisa is fully allocated onto the partner help desk. So we're flowing that information in, and we can understand she's completely booked. So she doesn't have any availability, for example, for project work. She's already booked up. Others might be fully booked on project work. Some might be booked on both. And then we can see where people don't have enough work, where they might have some availability as well. And this is just a very simple view. There are lots of different views and reports, and we'll take a look at a couple other reports a little bit later in the demo here. But basically, we can bring that together and get one picture from a resource management perspective of who is working on what and who's available for more work, so that as new demand comes in, we can figure out who's available to then take that, or if we need to shuffle things around, whatever it might be. Cool. So another scenario that we see very often, and it really does kind of tie into the resource management side of things, is timesheets, or putting in your time that you're working on all of this work. And so ServiceNow, as well as Project Online, have a timesheeting capability that allows you to come in and put in your time on the different tasks, service requests, projects, whatever you might be working on. But if we have the time separately in ServiceNow from what's in Project Online, then again, we have two different separate silos. And if we want to report that all together as one and understand what our organization, or just the IT part, or whatever we're looking at here, is actually spending their time on, we have to, as Jim said, do some gymnastics, data gymnastics, to get that data to mush all together in things like Excel and so on and so forth to try to understand that better. Instead, what we can do is we can take the time that people are putting in and working in ServiceNow, push that into Project Online, as well as any time people are putting into Project Online in the timesheet over in Project Online. we can pool that all together into one place. So now we have one place to go to see all of the time, and we can report across that. And there are many different reports to see that as well. So we can understand, okay, here is where we're actually spending the time. Resource A spent half of their time on the help desk, and they spent the other half of the time on these 2 projects, and so on and so forth, and start to really get a better picture of where we're actually putting our efforts without having to do a lot of manual work to do that, or try to make people put in 2 different timesheets. We all know it's hard enough to make people put in their timesheets one time, let alone try to get them to put that in multiple times in multiple different systems. That can be a hard battle to fight, for sure. So, as all that information's coming in, there are different ways that we can show it over here in Project Online. So if I want to come in and look at, all the different projects and/or services and applications we're supporting and all of that all within one place, I can do that right here within Project Online as well as in different reports. So if I work in Project Online all day, let's say I'm a portfolio manager or IT manager of some sort, I can come in and get visibility into what's going on right from here. If I work in ServiceNow all day, that's absolutely fine as well. If all the information's there that I want, then I can continue to do that. And we're just feeding in the relevant information over here in the Project Online so we can get everything all together and kind of compare apples to apples. So, for example, I can flip to my service summary view. What this is actually showing me is all the different services that we're supporting from a service management perspective over in ServiceNow, the health of those, the owner of those, and I can drill into that and even start to get more information if I choose to do so there, right? I can flip to my application summary view. We're supporting different applications, and I can see how those applications are doing and start to even get things like total cost of ownership around those applications, as well as the benefits and the business value and any other information I might want to track around that. So I can really bring everything together into one or multiple portfolios, but all in the same place, so then I can start to get these combined reports and visibility into what's going on. So, from that perspective, then, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pop into Power BI. So if I open up Power BI here, we can start to take a look at the different types of dashboards and reports that we can generate to become a little bit more analytical, make some better decisions, but most importantly, even get all of this information in one place in real time as that data is being updated. So say I'm more of an IT manager or an executive of some sort, and I need to get visibility into everything that's going on, both work that's going on in ServiceNow and changes and so on and so forth, as well as projects and other things that we're doing, all combined. I don't want to have to go to ServiceNow for some reports, Project Online for other reports. I want to go to one standard place and get access to all the information that I need. So what we can do is we can build these different dashboards like we're seeing here, and these are based on a pre-configured template reports or report packs that we've built that tap into all this greatest data, this great data that we have here, so we can get some better insights based off of things customers have asked for us, from us over the years. So we have some pre-built best practice reports that you can start from, basically. So on the left side here, I can see things that are more project management related, PPM type things like project costs, or I'm sorry, portfolio costs across all the projects and all the work that's going on, risk. Bubble charts of risk versus ROI, we can start to bring in those timesheet hours. But this isn't actually just like the timesheet hours that are just being put into Project Online. These are actually timesheet hours across all work, remember, because we're combining it together in one place using one common model. So we're actually looking across multiple systems within this one, visual here. Resource availability, as I said before, we can start to look across all of our different resources or types of resources and departments and see who's available, who's not, where we're over allocated across all of this work, not just the projects or others separately, right? Project status, etc. But on the right side, we can also bring in information that's specific to just say service management. Things like count of requests over time. Is it going up? Is it going down? Are we seeing more demand coming in, or are we doing less? Hopefully, if we're building knowledge-based articles and we're putting better processes in place, that's either going to even out or start to maybe even go down and not put as much demand on our help desk, right? We can look at things like average service ratings. So we can see here are all the different services we're providing. We're doing really good resolving application issues. We're not doing so good resolving data storage issues. So we can start to drill into that and look into that and figure out why and try to resolve some of those problems. Even SLA information. Are we meeting our SLAs on these different service requests and incidents and such that are coming in, right? So from one place, I can start to get visibility into all of that. These reports and dashboards within Power BI are all mobile enabled, so I can switch here to my phone view and I can access this on my phone or my tablet and see these same different dashboards and reports that we were just looking at, even when I'm on the move, on the go, out and about, whatever it might be. And they're always up to date. So as new information is updated, that flows into these reports. And so we're always getting the current picture of what's going on. And you can even subscribe to them through email and and import these into PowerPoint presentations, live working reports. There's lots of ways that you can consume them as well. From here, if I want more information, this is kind of a high-level view, high-level dashboard. If I want more information, I can come and I can click into any one of these and I can start to see more details. For example, if I click on resource availability here, it clicks me into that particular report. So I can start to then drill in and be a little bit more analytical. For example, I'm looking at resource availability across all of this work in both systems by role. So I can see how available each of my individual roles are, but we could modify this to group it by role or by team or by department or however you want to make that work. It's easy to make those types of modifications. But from here, I can come and I can click on one of these roles, like my support role. They're working on a bunch of different stuff. I can drill into that, and it shows me then all of my individual support people and how available or not each individual one is. So again, I can start at a very high level, or I can drill down and get more details if I choose to do so. And the same goes for all the other types of information that are back on this dashboard as well. I can drill into any one of these things and start to get more into the details if I choose to do so. Lastly, if, let's say, there's something that I want on my dashboard that doesn't currently exist, meaning I really want to be able to go and build an ad hoc report, and I don't want to submit a request and wait a lot of time doing it, possibly, right? And traditionally, if you want a new report, it could be weeks and weeks of development to get that done. Here, what Power BI enables me to do is, even if I'm not the most technical user, I'm more of just a business user, let's say, I can simply come in and ask a question about any of this data I have access to, and it's going to actually generate a report based off of what I type in. So it's probably easier if I show you. So I'm going to do something like, let's do a resource management one. I want to show average. Notice as I'm doing this, it's also trying to help me out. Even if I don't quite know the names of things, it'll still help me kind of figure it out. So average, let's do work variance, something like that, by project, something like that. Keep it simple. So what it actually did was it didn't just find a report that already existed. It created this report based off of what I typed in. So it's very much like an internet web search, like a Google Bing search or whatever search engine you might use. From there, though, you can actually change it. So I can now say, I want this to be a column chart. And now it's a column chart just by typing that in. Or I want it to be a pie chart. Now it's a pie chart just based off of typing that in, right? So I can put in whatever I want there and actually have it update in line, maybe just a regular old list of data if you choose to do so. And there are lots of different types that you can put in here if you want to do so, right? So from there, if you want to get fancy, you can open up the little editor over here on the side, and I can just simply pick the different ones that I might want as well. And you can get fancier. You can start to change colors, and you can change fonts, and you can add drill-ins, and you can do all kinds of other cool things, conditional formatting, so on and so forth. But if you're just looking for a very basic report, it can be as simple as that. Take just a few seconds, type in your question, pick your chart type, and then I can pin this back to my dashboard. From that point on, now I have access to this new report that I just created, right? So Power BI is a really rich, robust experience around reports. It's not just giving you the reports, but there's lots of cool things you can do and even generate some ad hoc ones on your own very easily. So with that, hopefully you can see how we can connect ServiceNow to Project Online so that we can really bring it all together into one place from multiple perspectives, from bringing all the demand together in one place and understanding where our demand is from a resource management perspective, timesheets, costs, etc. Right? We're really bringing that all together into one view so we can get these types of reports and dashboards and visibility into what's going on. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Jim. He has just a couple more slides for you, and then we'll let you guys go for the day. So there you go, Jim.
All right, thank you, Matthew.
No problem.
Can you see me okay?
I can now, yes.
All right, terrific. Well, let's do a little bit of summary wrap up, and thank you for that great presentation, Matthew. So now As Mike told you in the introductions, Wickersoft has a lot of ways that we can support you on this. Being a triple gold certified partner with high level of competency in all these different areas. We have a great footprint across all of North America, as well as locations around the globe. We can help you with any of the services, business process outsourcing, managed services, and even staffing around the things that you might want. So please think of us as somebody that can meet the needs of the more global organizations as well. The technologies that we support, we really have a strong emphasis in project and portfolio management around the Microsoft technologies, in this case, Project Online, as the hub of, that Matthew showed you earlier on. We also do things within the Microsoft Dynamics and Dynamics 365 world. So if you're looking at Salesforce automation or professional services automation, or the things that are done in that business application platform, we can actually do that and tie that together with your portfolio management process in much the same way as you saw here today. Also, from an agile management perspective, we're very proficient in the Visual Studio area. So if you're bringing in agile management and have a more hybrid world where you have a combination of agile projects as well as more traditional waterfall, we bring those worlds together as well as if you want to do simplified work management things just using SharePoint and Office 365 or on-premise, we can help you do those things as well. So the idea, all across the Microsoft stack, we can do these things and provide you reporting and analytics with Power BI and other methods. Once again, the connectors we talked about here today are productized connectors. One of the things we want to emphasize is the alternative in the past has been to use things like one-off customized connectors that people build for themselves and have to maintain over time. This is provided as a service from the Microsoft Cloud. So the idea being that you subscribe to it as a service, and then the vendor makes sure the APIs are current and any versions of the software are updated accordingly, so that you don't have to worry about that and your cost of ownership is predictable. From a next steps perspective, if you're interested in looking at these concepts further, we're happy to do some detailed discovery or assessment with you and give you an idea or a roadmap of what it would take to get you to take advantage of some of these capabilities. One of the ways we can do that is get you involved with a free Project Online trial and potentially trialing some of the concepts that you saw here today. And we can chaperone and support you as Wickersoft in that process so that you're not alone, and we can guide you through a process successfully. Also, if you want to see more details, we can personalize a one-on-one demo for your organization and talk and tailor it more to the specific use cases that you have. If you'd like to contact us as a general email for Wickersoft for NA sales, that's North America Sales @wickersoft.com, or you can reach out to any of us directly, Jim Patterson, Matthew Willey, or Mike Otranto. You'll be getting a copy of these slides, so this information will be available to you. I'd like to thank you. For more information, we have a general Wickersoft website at us.wickersoft.com where you can look at all of our service offerings and things. We have an area that is specifically geared to Project Online, which is www.project-online.com. And then just Project Connect, that whole concept of integration at wickersoft.com/Project Connect, you can get that. And if you got some value out of this today, we have a whole slew of upcoming webinars. We do them weekly. You can go to wickersoft.com/webinars and look at what's upcoming and register for those, as well as we have a whole library of on-demand ones that we've done in the past. So if there's content there you might find of interest, feel free to take advantage of those as well. Once again, I'd like to thank you for spending your valuable time with us today. And hopefully we'll be talking to you in the future. Have a great day.